Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today on Create with Chris. Hope you all had a great weekend. If you're jumping on or while we're waiting for you to jump on, let us know where you're from. Lindsay is here to monitor and answer any questions. Today, we're going to be talking about how to easily paint potion bottles, glass bottles. It's just super easy, and I think you're going to be amazed at how simple it is to create that effect. And I have a lot of people ask me questions, how do you do that? And I always think that if something's difficult, there has to be an easier way. So I usually try to play around with it. We still want it to look fantastic, have great results, but sometimes it's just those little touches that make such a big difference. So today I'm going to share with you because I think today, what we're doing today is just very obvious how much of a difference a little bit of paint makes. So while we're waiting for everybody to jump on, let us know where you're from. Hope you all had a good weekend. We had beautiful weather almost the entire weekend. We did have some pretty severe storms Sunday evening, but by then most of our festivities had kind of dwindled down.
It's just a lot of rain.
Yeah. Did you go swimming, Lindsay, over the weekend?
Nope.
I wondered if the pool was open, and if it was open, if it was warm.
My mother-in-law's pool's open, and my sister-in-law was there on Friday, and she said it was warm, but we didn't go. But.
Yeah, it was a good day, good weekend for swimming. We had a cookout on yesterday, but it was we have a covered deck, so we didn't have to worry about the weather. It's kind of gloomy, but it was still pretty.
It was chilly yesterday.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
So.
We have Jen joining us from the office.
Hi, Jen.
Sharon Schott from just down the road.
Hi, Sharon.
Cindy Estes from Indy.
Hi, Cindy.
And Donna from New Hampshire.
Donna from New Hampshire. Glad you joined us.
So,
all right. Are we ready to
go ahead and get started?
Get down to business. Okay. So I did the Hocus Pocus series, and I did the Christmas, 12 Days of Christmas, and Lindsay said, hey, you ought to do 13 Days of Halloween. So I did the Hocus Pocus series, and I did a total of 13 different ornaments. And this is Potions for All Afflictions. And I really had fun doing this because it turned out really awesome. And it wasn't difficult to create. And someone said, how did you do those bottles to turn out like that? So I thought this would be a really great little tutorial video to share with you how simple it is. And I love when something looks like it took a long time to do. And in essence, it was just a real, not super quick, but just a really easy technique. And I keep falling back on that little bit of paint makes a big difference, but this is where that little bit of paint, it's almost magical the way it builds up. And if you're not familiar with the Hocus Pocus series, it includes the pattern. And with this series, it does include the surface as well. So you can buy the patterns individually if you're not a fan of all of them, but I kind of think you will be. Or you can just pick and choose which ones you want. And I think these would look cute. Not only ornament size, but in a bigger plaque as well. All right, so let's get started on this. If you have any other suggestions, let me know because I love to hear what you're thinking. And if you have questions on something, we can maybe make another tutorial with that.
Right before you get started, we've got Cheryl from Tennessee joining us.
Hi, Cheryl.
Diana is here. Susan from West Virginia, Reggie from Utah.
You know, it totally amazes me how many different areas people hail from. And it's always kind of boggles my mind. I'm from pre-computer age, so all this technology is amazing. So, gosh, I'm so glad everyone's here.
And Diana said she received her Hocus Pocus, and they were going to be so fun and cute to paint.
Oh, I hope you enjoyed doing them as much as I did, Diane. Okay, so I went ahead and traced this on. I don't know if you can see it very well, Lindsay. Is it showing it?
It shows up pretty good.
Okay. Usually I have a chalk pencil, and it's the Bohn, B-O-H-N. I love using it when I sketch things out because it provides such a bright line. I did trace this with white transfer paper, tracing paper. But one thing about the Bond white pencil, it erases with water. So, sometimes when you're finished and you have those outlines that kind of drive you crazy, this kind of eliminates that concern. I am using Purple Cow and Cherry Merlot. And what I found out, you need a really bright color and a toned down color. And this is a black background. On the ornament, everything's kind of smoky and eerie and bubbly and hazy. So I kept those colors very toned down, but I wanted the potion bottle potion to really kind of resonate with that bright light. So I'm just going to use a little dot. It does not take much. Now, I am not using anything with my paint, but in Ohio, it takes a little while for paint to dry. If you are in a very arid area where by the time you squirt it on your palette, it's already starting to dry, you may want to use, I like that quick dry glaze medium, or you can use a little bit of a mist. Oh, we have some here. This is great. I'm not a big fan of glazing medium in general because it takes so long for it to dry. For my area, I don't find a lot of use for it, but this stuff is awesome. It is fast drying, so I can use it, get that super nice blend, and still gives me more open time without letting it dry too quickly. I'm using my number 2 Radical Round. I'm just going to load it up with Purple Cow. I'm going to do this kind of quickly, and maybe in somebody's opinion it might be kind of messy, but this is a very loose. This is liquid, so it doesn't need to be perfect. So I'm just going to plop that in there and pick up some Cherry Merlot on my dirty brush and kind of adding that in there. I'm going to wipe it off. Got a little paper towel here.
While you're painting, Janet joined us from Oklahoma City.
Hi, Janet.
And Anita Campanella's here from Italy.
Oh, hi, Anita. Welcome to Ohio. Okay. And I'm not too careful. I don't really need to go to the edge. But see that bright spot in the middle? I'm just going to tap that in. And I want it to be just a little bit choppy because that brew in there is kind of bubbly and kind of rolling, and it's not smooth and blended. Okay, that's it for now on that one. Do the same thing with Aqua Sky. Got a little dot there. My bottle's getting on the low side. I got it, Lindsay. I think I'm good. I'll just turn it upside down. And this is Stormy. Color-wise, you just need a deep, rich color and a super bright color. And keep in consideration the background because it's dark also. So it's not going to be as bright as it appears. Okay, there's the Aqua Sky. I'm just wiping my brush out, picking up a little bit of that Stormy. Just going to kind of tap it around the outer edges. Fill that in. I'm not real super particular about going right to the edge. Just kind of boom, 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 boom. See how that center glows? That's what you're looking for, that brightness in the center. Going to go with the last bottle, Tangerine and Red Spice. I don't know why I picked these colors. It was just bright and a duller color. And I like Red Spice. I think that's a pretty color. Tangerine leans a little bit on the translucent side. I was kind of concerned about it putting a little bit of it over the dark surface. And this surface that I prepped this is lamp black. So this is super dark. I think on the ornament, it might have been soft black, so it wasn't quite as dark. Okay, I don't have a, just gonna, what I liked about this, and you can kind of see with that translucent effect of the tangerine, it allows that black to kind of make it look a little more rolling. And I don't know, let's make that go just a little bit higher. Just tapping it in, smoothing it out, sort of, kinda. You like that word, sort of, kinda? All right. And I'll put just a little more strength down here at the bottom. And I think I've got a little bit of empty spot in there. Now, once this starts to dry, you can't go in and move it around. You need to stop, because once it starts to tack up and dry, you need to walk away and just let it completely dry. I think I will hit this just a little bit with a quick dry. These are pretty colors. If I was going to mix up potions, I would go with these colors. Getting a little bit of Purple Cow on my Epic script liner. Just going to line that top edge of that mix. And I'll just bring a little bit of that down in there. Get some of that Cherry Merlot. I don't want an empty spot, so I'm just going to kind of fill that in. And we'll do the same thing with the blue, a little bit of Aqua Sky, just to kind of run across that top edge. And for this one, I'm going to get just a teeny bit of white on my brush and pick up some of that tangerine. Just makes it a little more opaque. So when I put this on here, it's going to show up just a little bit more. I want that bright edge. Really want that to look like the top edge of the potion. And since I went back in and touched that up, I'm going to dry it again real quick here.
While you're drying, we've had Heidi join us from California.
Hi, Heidi.
And Lilibeth from El Salvador.
Wow, El Salvador, welcome. I'm glad you're here. I know everybody wants to mix up a little potion. All right, so I'm thinking on this one, I've got like a square place here. I'm just going to go back in with that Cherry Merlot, kind of just tone that. So it's not so square, does that make sense? Just want to soften that down just a little bit. It needs to have that more of a round middle focal point, because I'm painting the bottles over the corks, or the corks go down inside the bottles. I'm going to go ahead and add the corks before I put the glass on there. And I'll just take my flat and I'm just going to pull a cork down just like that. Just make a cork shape. I'm going to bring it down just a little bit more. I want to go past that lip and do the same thing on this one. Now that was hard, wasn't it? Just to create a cork. And give that a quick dry. Now I want this potion to have some motion. So I'm going to add some bubbles in it. And if you can see in here, it's got little bubbly things going on. I'm going to use my Bubble Buddy. And these are templates that I created just to make my life a little easier, and yours as well. So if you're not sure whether or not these are handy, trust me, these will make painting so much easier. And I'll show you how easily I can add bubbles in there. Just going to pick up a little bit. This is my number 3 Spectacular stencil brush. I'm going to load it with a little bit of Purple Cow, get the excess off, and decide what size bubbles I want. And I'm just going to dry brush those on there. There's one bubble. Isn't that cute? And I can add some down in here as well. Now, if I'm going down below where there's a little bit of purple cow and cherry merlot, I'm just going to strengthen the intensity of that bubble. I can put one up here. When I put the glass on, it's going to cover up a lot. So I even went back after I did the glass and added a couple extra, but I can just pop these in just about anywhere. If I want to, I could put a bigger one down in here. And see, that one doesn't show up as well, but I just want that little bubbly look. And one thing nice about my stencil brushes is that I can go in and wash them out with water, and I can pick up the next color. I don't have to wait for the bristles to dry to be able to add more stenciling and get that same dry brush effect. So I'm picking up Aqua Sky. I want to get just a nice dry brush on that. I'll do the same thing, but I'm going to wipe my stencil off so that I don't, when you dry brush and you use the same template, what's going to happen is going to pull that purple off and it's going to add it to this blue bottle, which is what we do not want. Just a little bit of bubbles there. I'm going to go tinier on these. Ooh, that one's almost off the edge. Let's go right in there. And I'll add some bigger ones down below. That's good. And we'll go maybe right here. If I don't like placement of the bubbles, I can add more later or fill them in as needed. So I've got some bubbles things going on. I'm going to clean my stencil brush and pick up some of that tangerine. I'm wiping my brush off to get the excess moisture out of it. Load it up with tangerine and then just dry brush it over a paper towel so that I don't have real heavy solid coverage. This tangerine is really cool on a dark surface. You almost don't have to do anything. You get, look at that bubble. Isn't that a cool bubble? And we'll just add a couple little more over here. You can add as many as you want. Let's add a bigger one down here. I think I'll add another one over here just to kind of balance that out. Well, then that's in a row. Don't put them in a row. Okay. So now we have our bubbles in there. Well, let's go ahead and go with starting to build the glass around the bottles. And I'm just using my 1/4 inch awesome angle. If you're not familiar, my awesome angles are a little bit longer than a traditional angle. And that's going to give me a longer stroke. Loading just the toe of my brush with Snow White. This is very thin. I have a fair amount of moisture in my brush so that I can float it on. It's going to dry much lighter than what it appears when I first add this on. Using the chisel edge to pull it across, the flat of the brush to kind of create that outer edge. Look at that. I mean, just like that, we've almost got a glass bottle here. And you can see I'm not reloaded. I have enough moisture in my brush. I can really pull that around. We're still on camera. I keep moving this over.
You're fine.
Don't try to do it all at once. just do that and stop. I think we'll do the same thing over here. And I'll get to that little stopper here in a minute. See, I can move that paint around, just move it wherever I want it. I'm going to turn it upside down and pull it from here. Just going to go over there because I know there's a bottle behind me. This is a little book. So I'm just pulling that up. Get that little round edge on that stopper. If my bottle's a little lopsided, I'll straighten it up in a minute. But right now I just want to get that first float on. Same thing over here. And this is behind the book, but I'm still just going to pull it down. Take that chisel edge, go around. And this is the edge. I debated because this is the edge of the ornament. And I thought maybe I should pull that over. I have to make sure that's... So, okay, well, I'll just do that for now. If this were to go, it's going to be hard for me to see that. A little bit lopsided. Does that look sort of kind of straight? I debated that. Okay, so pretend I changed my mind on filling. I'll just go back and add a little bit of that red spice in here, just to kind of fill that in, make my bottle straight, and it's not, so we'll do a quick fix. There's nothing you can't fix with painting. Just straighten that up, pull it around. Okay, is that pretty straight? We'll pretend it's really straight.
I mean, they're old potion bottles anyway.
Thank you, Lindsay.
They're old. They've been sitting in the witch's laboratory for a long time.
See, and that's what I do when I paint. I'm going, okay, so there's a story brewing in my mind when I'm painting all these things. All right, so we need to put this little glass stopper on there. And I'm going to use, you probably already guessed it, I'm going to be using my Bubble Buddy. And I think I'll put that kind of stopper on there. Oh, thank you. And I'm just going to dry brush it. Whoa, too much paint on my brush. That's my highlight on there. Boom, I've got my little stopper on there. Super easy. If you're not good at making round shapes, you really need a Bubble Buddy because this is like my go-to for every round circle I ever paint. Okay, so while I'm waiting for that to dry the first time, I'm going to go in and put just a teeny bit of highlight on some of these bubbles. Will they show up? Can you see just a little bit on there, Lindsay? They're just kind of...
It's very subtle.
Yeah, just not a real strong highlight, but just enough to make it look like they're round and got a little bit of a bubble effervescence kind of going on. Okay, I put my glasses on. I see a little bit better. There's always a fine line between thinning the white down to a nice paintable stroke and getting it too thin so when it dries you don't even see it. There we go. There was a bubble down here, so I'm just pretending it's still there. So we've got just a little bit of highlight on those bubbles. Now I want to go back and really enhance the edges of that bottle, and I think they're pretty much dry enough. So I'm just going back in with my Epic script liner. And I want to really strengthen those edge lines. You know, when the paintbrush is loaded correctly. Look how that edge of that bottle is just really becomes very strong and defined. That's why I'm not too worried about if they were a little uneven when I painted them, because I can go back and I can move them around to where they should have been. Like this, these two sides of the lip don't match. I can even them up. And just and same thing over here. I found out I can't talk really well while I'm stroking, or my lines are really jaggedy. I talked when I did that, so you can see they're just a little bit raggedy. So I need to add a little bit to that cork, some dimension on the cork, a little bit of shading. Let's get just...
Sandy has a question. Could
Yes.
you use the white pen that Jen uses for this, or would it be too thick?
Okay, here's the thing with the white pen. I can use the white pen, which would be fine, but I'm going to go back and shade over it. And when I shade over it, it's going to disappear, because it does disappear with water. Is it dry? So I can erase it very easily with water. So you need to keep that in mind. If you're using the white pen, that's going to be like the very, very last thing that you do. And then spray varnish over it. Do not brush varnish over it. I did some Zentangle with a white pen. It was beautiful. I did the whole thing and I thought, oh, it's so gorgeous. I'm not going to spray. I'm going to brush varnish over it, just because I thought it was too beautiful. And the whole thing disappeared. So, word to the wise. So, that would be the very last thing you can do. I do like the white pen. Okay, just a teeny bit of soft black on the right side and the bottom side. A little bit of snow white. I think I'm going to go down to my 1/8 inch angle. Lindsay, can you get that off of there? I'll try. Okay, we'll do this. Lindsay's working on my brush. I'm tapping with the toe of my angle just to get a little bit of texture in the cork. It's not going to show below where it's encased in the glass. Going back now again with my 1/4 inch angle, I'm going to really brighten that bottle up. Now that I know exactly where my bottle is, thank you. I can put a little more highlight on there and just really move that paint around so that I have some strong marks. And if you look at glass has some really strong reflective lines. So don't be afraid to add stronger lines on there because they really are kind of brilliant. So I can go in there and add a little bit there, on here. I'm going to bring it up past the liquid level because I want to make sure that it doesn't stop anywhere in particular. And you can pull some across here. I mean, just don't be afraid to really strengthen that glass up.
Judy wants to know, are you thinning your paint or just using a really damp brush?
I'm using a very damp brush. Mostly moisture. And again, if you're in a very dry area, use this fast dry glazing medium to transport the paint because it will transport it without thinning it out. And you can see as it dries, it becomes very muted. It's not as strong. So I can even go back with, I just had a teeny tiny dot. I should have left this over here in the camera. I just had a teeny tiny dot of white and I used it to do all of that and it finally ran out. Just going to pick up a little bit on my number 2 radical round. And I'm just going to, see, I can go back because this is so thin, I can go back and add stronger highlights very easily. And it doesn't, just a little bit here and there. It doesn't have to be a super strong highlight. And this is very dry paint, was. Just add that on there. I'll let that highlight be strong. I know the light's coming from that side, so I can really enhance it. Don't diminish the cork. You still want that to be a little bit visible, so allow that to kind of show. But add a stronger highlight. Really haven't done much painting at all. It's just a little bit of paint here and there.
Allison says, great demo, Chris. I would never have thought of potion bottles with stenciled on bubbles. Love it. Thank you.
You're welcome. I hope you give it a try. And use it for other things because anything that's...
Wine glasses.
Oh, yeah. Wouldn't that be nice for wine? Champagne.
Yeah. Soda bottle.
So, yeah, and the list goes on. But what a great way to add movement very easily. Just kind of keep an eyeball on it. And I think I'll go ahead and put that book in there just because I want to know where my shading is. This is a number 10 Fabulous Flat. Just going to do that. And that's my book. So I will let that dry. You keep that same pressure all the way down. Your book will be the same width all the way down. Now I have kind of put all my highlights on, but I think it's still very, very much the same. So I need to start adding a little bit of lowlights. We've added our highlights, so we need to add our lowlights, also called shading. Going in and just getting a little bit of soft black. Very little bit. My brush is very damp, just a tinge on the toe of my brush, not a strong color, but I really want to, I'll start over this way, wanted to go under that bottom of that stopper and just put a hint. Look at that. I mean, that just, wow, what a difference that made. Same thing under here, where the bottom of that lip has a little bit of a shadow. I can add it here. definitely want to put a little bit, I'm going to go upside down here. Just want to put some here at the bottom and a little bit on that left side. A little bit, not a lot. This is soft black. And can you see what it does to that bottom edge of that liquid? It just kind of makes it look shady because it doesn't go clear to the bottom. But if I have a little shadow here between these bottles and I can put it across the bottom here, look at that. All of a sudden that bottle is full and that liquid has just become a shadowy area. Let's do a little bit on this book. If I want that book just a little bit wider, I can strengthen that shadow and that along the side. And all of a sudden it goes from being a super bright book to just a nice quiet. We've got a shadow here where it's against the bottle. Don't forget that. And put a little bit on the bottom. Okay, orange and black don't play together very well, so be careful. I'm going to back off some of that color, and the way I back off, it's very, very thin, so I'm just taking a clean brush and muting that down a little bit. Okay, so now I've got a little bit of shadowing in there. I can go back and brighten it up and shade it down as much as I want. But you know I'm on this blue kick right now. And I talked about last week. If you didn't watch last week's video, what did I do? And I put the blue on it. And it just,
can't remember.
It's, oh, it was the candy, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah, the candy, yeah.
The wrapped candy. Adding just a hint of blue just makes a huge difference. So I'm going into this aqua blue. I probably should get a fresh puddle.
This is Aqua Sky.
Aqua Sky, yeah. I make up new names. I do. Sorry, Deco Art, but I do change the name of your colors. Down here on this side, I can add just a hint of that blue on that bottle. See what happens to that? It just kind of glows a little bit.
The middle one looks like it's glowing now.
It just, I don't know what it does, but it's just magic. It's just absolutely magic. I'll put a little bit on the stopper. And it is just a teeny bit. I'm going to put some on that. So, okay, here's another thing. When you do this blue, don't just do right along the sides all the way up. Kind of splash it in a little bit. So I did a little bit on that stopper. I think I should add just a hint right there and see what that little hint does. It just breaks up that darkness. Play around with it. Everybody has a different thumbprint when they paint. So your shading and highlighting may be different than mine. So don't be afraid to adjust your highlights and shadows according to the way you paint, because it may just need that little bit over here instead of over there. That's really clear, isn't it? See, I'm going to pull that up. And I don't need as much on that blue, but look how that glows. I'm thinking, do I need some on that cork? Why not? Let's just, right there. Oh yeah, look what it did to that cork. It was just invisible, and now it's not. I'll put some on that one because I did that one. This is the favorite part of painting. So let's add a little bit over here. And add some over here. the old finger to smudge it down just a teensy bit. I don't know. I didn't do that in the pattern, but I thought it needed it on there. So I put a little bit on the book. So these are looking really, really good. I can go in. I'm thinking my little stopper needs to be brighter. Just when you think your highlights are strong enough and you look at it and you're going, maybe it needs to have just that little bit more. So I did go ahead after I put my shading and highlights on. I did decide they needed some little tags and around the top of them and on the bottles. And that's where this little thing comes in really, really nice and handy. I can just take my little, what's this, Angle Mate? No. Which one is this one?
Box Buddy.
Box Buddy. And I'm just using Snow White. I'll put a tag here. I don't want this solid because this is an old kind of a vintage tag. So I'm keeping it just a little bit muted. And I can put one here. Put one right there. I'll make that one a little smaller just because I think that my book moved. Okay, and it's not real solid, but it's on there. And I didn't have to paint it, and it's really a rectangle, so that makes me happy. And this is kind of off topic, but to do the book, I just took my little script liner and did some little squiggly, like decorative marks on that. This is super easy. Don't make this hard. And what's nice about the Epic script liner, it has enough length in it that you'll be able to get all of that on there without, that's kind of crookedy. Okay. Without having to be real specific, just some little details, little designs. I can go back and add a little more highlights. I think it needs just a little bit more. Play around with it. Don't go too overboard. Let's put a label on this one. And I think I'll do a pretty good size one. I'm going to cover up that little bubble. That's okay. And I'm using Snow White. I've got all these dark colors, so by the time I get finished, it's not going to be that bright. To tone these down a little bit, I'm just going to pick up, and I don't think I brought a micron in here. Shoot, do we have it?
You want?
Yeah, an 05. Thank you. I don't want these to be white, so I'm just taking a little bit of light cinnamon, and I'm just going to tone them down. Just a little thin wash, heavier on the bottom and on the right side. And it's very washy. I want to blend it in. I want that tag to look kind of yellow and old, but a little bit brighter on the top and the left side. Same thing over here. On this one, make sure that it leans a little more on the opaque side so that you don't see the background through it. And I'm just, same light cinnamon, a little bit of paint, big difference. Sometimes with enough design or shading and highlighting, it's just enough to tone it down that it's fine. I wonder if I could use this for my lettering on the book. Okay, so what I like about this pen is that it wasn't quite, I should have made it a little smaller. So I can just wipe it off and do it again. I love it. I think the pen's a little bit heavy for the lettering, but I'm going to give it another try. Okay, that'll work. It's a lot brighter than everything else, but I think that'll be okay.
You said 05, but you didn't have an 05 open, so I wrote 005, so I didn't know which one.
Okay, we'll go with the 05.
Did you like the sound effect with the creaky door?
Creaky door, yeah. Well, this is a Halloween project, so it can be creaky. Not sure I like the thickness of that. I use the white pen on the lettering.
Oh, okay.
To me, it's just a little bit too bold. But you know what? I can just take, and it's dry, but I can go in there. I can just lift it off.
Oh, look, it's gone.
Is it, was that magic ink that you use? Okay. So I wanted to share something I thought was kind of cool. I knew on this label that I wanted to put a little bat on it. So we have this Halloween helper and it had these little bats on it. I think they're adorable. So I'm just going to pop that little bat on there. And it's super teeny tiny. So hopefully, maybe I should have went next size up. We'll see. Oh, he's cute, yeah. And I do encourage you to clean your stencils off after you use them. You can use the translucency of the stencil for placement. So if your stencil has paint all around it, it's kind of hard to see where the middle is.
So for those of you that watch us semi-pro painters, don't listen to what we say.
There's different.
We don't clean.
There's different techniques for different things.
That's why we're semi-pro.
All right, so I want this label to stand out. I stenciled it with this bubble. I'm going to bump up to the next size bubble, and there's a little bit of an edge around it between the size of the outer size of the actual label and the inner size of the next size up circle. Using a 0.05 micron, hopefully it's dry enough. I can go right around that edge.
Linda O'Connell says, I don't clean, I buy extras.
Yeah, there you go. Hey, I don't mind that either. And then let's see if we can do this. Bat poison. And we'll just do a little. Okay. I think on this, just to help make it stand out a little more, I'm going to pick up a hint of soft black. Just go around that outer edge. And it just makes it look like, maybe there's a shadow on the potion itself.
It's a thick leather label.
There you go. Thick leather label, Lindsay said. Because of the thickness of the micron and the difference between the edge that we used the pen on and the edge that we created the label with, it's going to give that really nice little bit of dimension. All right, so we've got this over here. I'm going to put some lettering on that. This is the 05. I'm going to bump down to the smaller one because I don't think I can fit those letters on there. If you're good with a liner, toxic. You can use a liner to do that. Need my glasses to see that. And I want to connect those to the jars. So I'm just going to grab a little bit of soft black or black and just make a hang hole right there. You know, when you're working with little fun things, don't get hung up on perfection. This is Halloween, so it just needs to be fun and not necessarily perfectly fussy. And you might be surprised at some of the things you do. They just really might come out a little bit better if you're not as stressed out or you're just a little bit more relaxed when they're created. And I'm just going to put a little bit of a tie on that. Snow White, not a big deal. I'm going to have a dot there, a loop. The only thing that you really probably need to be careful about is like when the tails come down that they hang, just that kind of flow down. On this bottle, there was no room for a bow, so I decided I would just put a little kind of a double string around it, and boy, I almost didn't leave room to tie that on. And then there is none on this one, but I'm going to add another highlight on that. I don't want these ties to be really pure white. So I'm just going to go back with a little bit of light cinnamon. Just kind of tone it down a little bit. These have been sitting on the shelf since last Halloween, so they're just a little bit on the grungy side. I want that to be a little whiter down there. Pay attention to the background. If using the light cinnamon on it is going to mute it down too much, don't do it. I can go in with soft black, and if I just need a little touch more paint. You know how you try to use that little last drop on your palette and think that it's going to work and it's just not wet enough. So if I want to, I can add a little drop shadow down beneath for these little ties. A little bit under here. It's just the little touches that do make a big difference. Here they don't show up very well. And I think I may go back and just strengthen that a little bit. If they don't show up, just go back and see what that does. It just makes it stand out. So look at it and see. You know if it doesn't look good. Just might need that one more thing. These little ends of the ribbon. Just those little touches. Okay. Gonna see if I can do this with the brush. Okay, we got spells on there.
Can you hold it up to the camera closer when it's dry? Someone asked for a closer look.
Okay. I am going to do one more thing real quick here. Everything's highlighted but the book. So let's put a little bit of highlight on the book. Okay. Let's raise that up a little bit.
Okay, give it a second.
Okay, that's the one I just did today, and I did that rather quickly. This is the one that I did for the ornament.
And this is the Potions for All Afflictions pattern.
So I'll pull that down a little bit. And I used, for the bubbles, this is off topic, but I did use liquid glass to give them that crystal shiny dimension on some of these bubbles up here.
I mean, if she tilts that, you would be able to see it a little better, that there is dimension to that. There.
So let me know if you have any questions, because this is such a, to me, it's just kind of magical the way it kind of evolves. Really does not require a lot of heavy, serious painting. I think that it is very exciting to be able to do just those little bits of paint to make those jars just kind of evolve. And I hope you learned a couple little tips and tricks to make it easier, not to stress out, just enjoy it. And, you know, if there's an issue with any of the highlights or shading, you can always tone them down or brighten them back up. It's just such a workable, easy technique to create. And this works well for, you know, the glass mason jars, like crystal ornaments, anything that has glass on it. If you want to go with a different color, like the blue-green antique mason jar glasses or any of the colors, it's still the same technique. It's just layers of light washes of paint and then the shading and the highlighting.
Lori asked, does liquid glass pick up the color behind it, or do you tint it?
Liquid glass is absolutely crystal clear. So if you put it over something blue, it's going to resonate blue. And I did a fun thing. I put it over top of rhinestones. And what happens when you put it over like a crystal rhinestone, it just looks crystally. All the little facets from the rhinestone disappear with the coverage of the liquid glass, but it just creates a really different effect. If you want to play around with it, that's a fun thing to do. I know I put some in the middle of different, I don't know, snowflakes or flowers or something, and I put the liquid glass over the rhinestones, and it was like amazing. It was really pretty.
Someone asked, do we have a video on how to paint a rusty look?
Oh, I can do rusty. I'm not sure. It seems
one
like
of the trucks. The trucks.
Oh. The Halloween one has it on it.
Did we do a video on that?
It's like rusted metal. Lindsay's going to look that up. So if you get a chance, make sure that you, if you're watching this on YouTube, give me a thumbs up, hit the bell and subscribe. That way you won't miss out on upcoming videos. I have a video next week. It's recorded. I'm going to be on the lake enjoying sunshine and hopefully warm temperatures. Jen and Lindsay are doing a live tomorrow. And I think Jen is going to be painting a snowman tag. So make sure you don't miss that. And usually on Thursdays, they have a stenciling video. I think this week is going to be skipped, but we have a lot going on here. If you have not subscribed to our newsletter, go to the website, www.citywood.com. Subscribe to the newsletter or join us on Facebook, and that way you won't miss out on all the fun stuff we do and all the sales we have. And
so I'm not finding that video.
Okay.
So then we'll add that to our list. And someone else asked about bubbles.
Bubbles.
Did we do one?
I'm not sure if we
We'll
did
look.
bubbles.
If not,
Okay.
we'll add it to our list.
Okay. Yeah. Let me
Yeah.
know what you want.
We have a list. Every suggestion we put on the list, and we just add it to the bottom of the list. So
Lindsay's good at keeping track of what I do and what's coming up. So
except it's a Tuesday after a long weekend, and I can't remember what we've done.
Today seems like Monday, and yet it's Tuesday, and we've got a lot going on this week. So it's been kind of a crazy week. So hopefully you're having a good week and everything is going well for you. Anything else, Lindsay?
No,
I think brushes are on sale on the website. No? What
No,
is
that was a weekend sale only.
Oh.
There's nothing on sale on the website.
Oh, okay. Well,
Not until Friday.
Friday. So stay tuned for Friday. We usually have really good sales coming up. So.
All right.
Okay, well, thank you for joining me today. Hopefully you picked up a few new tips and tricks to make your painting life a little bit easier and a lot more fun. And I look forward to our next painting adventure together. Remember, a little bit of paint makes a big difference. Thanks again for joining us. Bye-bye.